So we already went through one idiot blaming the new mass shooting on possible gay impulses felt by the shooter based on no evidence whatsoever. And unfortunately, there are a parade of idiots from both the right and the left to cover. So first, let's listen to Glenn Beck and Alex Jones flex the stupid muscle.
What kid talks about women have the right to choose who to mate and breed with?
Sick.
He's
That's
made
sick.
them into objects and animals. And he actually goes on to say that he wants, quote, quarantine all women in concentration camps and starve them to death.
Oh. Wow.
Now, I got news for you. That is, they should not have the right to choose who to mate or breed with. That is almost an exact quote from Teddy Roosevelt. That is almost an exact quote from Teddy Roosevelt.
But did he say that about women or defectives, as they call it?
He said about people, that they should not have the right to choose.
Because they were trying to make a stronger race.
They were trying to build a master race.
They were trying to breed
progressives,
out. Yeah.
The progressives, he was a Republican. The progressives said, let's weed out all of the deficients.
And then for Margaret Sanger, it was minorities.
Correct. So they're the only ones that I have read. It's all the progressives, communists, fascists. They're the ones who talk like this. I don't know who else. No small government person talks like this.
And
no constitutionalist talks like this.
Who is it who has talked and acted on concentration camps in this country? Also progressives.
3 were killed with knives. The sheriff's department's confirmed. The first people he killed in a frat house were people with knives. He killed them with knives, a knife. And then 3 people he killed with a gun, and then the 7th was himself. So 50% of the people killed in the Santa Barbara massacre, as the media is calling it, were killed with knives. Half of them with knives, no discussion of that. I mean, if people weren't armed, folks, you could kill multiple people with a hammer. You going to ban hammers?
Sweet Jesus, I can't take the stupidity. Joe the Plumber also echoed Alex Jones' argument there, and he said in an article he wrote, quote, "Your dead kids don't trump my constitutional rights." You know what else doesn't trump your constitutional rights? Universal background checks. All the people on the right yelp and scream and bitch and moan. Like, the left is saying, confiscate all weapons in the entire country, ban weapons 100%, all of them should be gone, nobody should have anything that's dangerous, ever, ever, ever. Like, that's our response to mass shootings. No. Our response is simply to end gun anarchy, which means moderate changes, some small tweaks to our gun policy in the United States. So, for example, like I said, universal background checks, banning of high-capacity magazines, possibly banning of assault weapons. So, in other words, all the handguns, all the pistols, all the shotguns, all the rifles, they're all good. Nobody's ever coming for them ever, 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 okay? You can still swim in your ocean of guns, just maybe a few less guns in that gigantic ocean of guns. And by the way, you should also have to prove that you're not a felon, that you're not a crazy person if you want to own a gun. Again, this kid was seeing 2 psychiatrists. He had 3 former run-ins with the police for violent incidents. Okay? He had Asperger's syndrome. He had a paper trail of shit where he's saying, I'm going to flip, I'm going to kill people, I'm going crazy over here. Everybody look out. This is, I'm just warning you. And he was able to legally buy guns and get amass a tremendous arsenal with, what are the exact numbers again? 400 rounds of ammunition were found in his car. Okay? To say, hey, maybe that kid shouldn't have been able to get a gun legally. Is that really outrageous? No, it's not outrageous. And I always hate the argument because it's so stupid when they say, well, what are you going to ban? Are you going to ban knives? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to ban hammers? Is that what you're going to do? You could kill somebody with a fucking thimble. Should we ban all thimbles? Is that what we should do? Really? Have you ever heard of this fucking thing called statistics, you dumb motherfuckers? You ever heard of this thing called statistics? Okay? How many people die from hammers every year? How many people? -8? I mean, what's the ballpark for hammer deaths? 20, roughly? 32,000 die from guns. 32,000. And again, nobody's saying you ban all guns. We're just saying, hey, maybe we should do a background check here to make sure that, like, the next Charles Manson doesn't easily amass an arsenal. But they're so stupid. Alex Jones is stupid. Joe the Plumber with his nonsense. Glenn Beck, I love Glenn Beck, man. And his suck-ass yes men there blame progressives for everything. Right, because progressives who are fighting for equal pay for women, and they're fighting to put an end to sexism and give equality of the genders, you can clearly see how that would lead to shooting people in the face. There's not even a loose connection. There's not even a theoretical connection between, liberalism or progressives and wanton random violence and murder of people. But Glenn Beck is so stupid, and his show has so little substance that that's an entire conversation point for them. They have a whole long conversation. Well, those progressives, they love concentration camps. Am I right? Yes, man? Am I right? Oh, Glenn, you're so right about everything. You're 100% right. Oh, tell us more about how progressives suck and about how conservatives are great and about how progressives wanted to kill people and they're pro-murder. Oh, let me beat off to it as you talk about this. I mean, it's embarrassing how stupid these guys are. Now, clearly, what we're dealing with here, that was by and large right-wing / conspiracy stupidity in the wake of this shooting. Unfortunately, there's also a little bit of left-wing idiocy. Sad to say, but it's true. It comes from Ann Hornaday, who's a writer for the Washington Post, and she said this about the shooting, quote, "How many students watch outsized frat boy fantasies like Neighbors and feel, as Roger did, unjustly shut out of college life that should be full of sex, fun, and pleasure? How many men raised on a steady diet of Judd Apatow comedies in which the schlubby arrested adolescent always gets the girl, find that those happy endings constantly elude them and conclude, it's not fair? Movies may not reflect reality, but they powerfully condition what we desire, expect, and feel we deserve from it." So, in case you didn't understand what that means, she is indeed blaming Seth Rogen for the mass shooting. Now, there's been a slew of articles that came out afterwards, the extreme feminists, as I call them, that have defended the article. Jessica Goldstein at Think Progress, she wrote an article on this. It was honestly one of the worst articles I've ever read in my life. Where she's like, no, you guys don't get it. You're drawing silly conclusions. It's not actually true that she's blaming Seth Rogen. What she's doing is she's just blaming Seth Rogen. No, that's exactly what she's doing. You could try to pretend, do some mental gymnastics and rationalize in your mind like, oh, she's not actually blaming movies, and she's not actually blaming, it's the old, all the movies that have, the typical plot line of like some awkward boy who gets a girl in the end, and it's like, how many movies are there where, some young teen boy desperately wants to get laid? Like every teen boy in real life does, right? But they're saying, oh, no, if you ever put that in a movie, that whole dynamic obviously is exploitative of women, and it makes them look like they're only sex objects, and that clearly will lead to killing them. What the fuck are you talking about? Hey, let me give you a little bit of information. When I was a teenager, in fact, till this day, I get horny. I really, really like women. I'm a straight guy. When I was a teen, I was trying to get laid everywhere I looked. I mean, I would have stuck my dick in a fucking toaster if there were no other options around. Okay? Does that mean I'm exploiting women? Does that mean I'm objectifying? And does that mean that I'm subtly in favor, I'm creating a narrative that contributes to rape culture, and clearly this leads to the people like Roger who killed women? Is that what that means? If you believe that, you're one of the dumbest people I've ever heard in my life. That is painfully stupid. What's any different between this argument and the argument that the same people mock, by the way? Think Progress rightly mocks the argument that, look, gun violence, hey, there's Call of Duty, there's Halo, there's Rainbow Six, all these different fucking video games where people are shooting people, all these different movies, Rambo, they shoot people, okay, there's a lot of violence in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies too. Have you seen those? Those are kind of crazy. So, hey, I'm just saying that the gun culture in movies and on video games, that clearly leads to people killing people in real life. No, it doesn't, and the studies have shown that that's not the case. But they'll rightly attack that argument, but now the argument that if And it's not even the argument that if there's violence against women in movies, it will lead to violence against women in real life, which also is not true, right? But they're not even making that argument, which there's a stronger argument for that, even though it's not true. They're saying, no, romantic comedies that involve Seth Rogen and some fat kids, teenagers who want to get laid, that's clearly contributing to a society and a culture where people end up wanting to kill women. Give it a fucking rest, dude. It's such a bad argument, I feel silly even responding to it. You know, I mean, what we have here is a crazy person who had access to weapons, okay? The solution to there's always going to be crazy people. There's always going to be crazy people. We could do our best to limit the number of crazy people by having healthy societies and yada yada, but there's always going to be crazy people, so the solution to the problem is deal with the crazy people as well as we can and don't give them access to high-powered weapons and small arsenals that can end up fucking killing a tremendous amount of people. How's that for a radical idea? The whole blaming of other people, blaming of culture for the acts of somebody like this, it just smacks of intellectual dishonesty and leaps of logic that are so gross and so disgusting that you're clearly trying to fit the narrative into the conclusion, as opposed to, you know, working your way up to a logical conclusion, which of course wouldn't be what you said.